Hello friends, myself Dr. Nidhi Darbari on My Education Treasure. Today in my present video, I am going to tell you about the closure skill of micro teaching, its meaning, uses, elements and types. According to Josh Johnson, there comes a time when you have to choose between turning the page and closing the book. Anything that has a beginning must have an end, and so is with the lesson that is taught. A teacher begins the lesson with set induction and ends with closure. Closure is indispensable in teaching. Any lesson that is not closed does not have its full effects on the student. Closure is the act of reviewing and clarifying the points of a lesson, tying them together into a coherent whole, and ensuring their utility in application by securing them in the student's conceptual network. It is those actions by teacher that are designed to bring a lesson presentation to an appropriate conclusion. Teachers use closure to help students bring things together in their minds to make sense out of what has been going on during the lesson. Closure then has as its first purpose to draw attention to the end of a lesson. Often, typical closure procedures are okay. There's the bell. Get going. You'll miss your next class. Enough of this. Let's close our books and line up for recess. Alright, we'll stop here and pick up at the same time, same point tomorrow. Any questions? No. Good. These forms of closure ignore the fact that learning depends on the sequencing of lesson presentations. Closure must be planned carefully. There are two aspects to consider when closing a lesson. First one is cognitive and metacognitive. Closure allows the student to quickly summarize the learning objectives, answer questions posed by the teacher, reflect on what and how they learned, link newly acquired knowledge with prior knowledge, make connection to situations in their everyday lives, and make conclusions based on the question posed at the beginning of the lesson. It also allows the teacher to see where the students are, to assist the teacher in planning for the next lesson, evaluate class process, relate the lesson with the next topic, and give appropriate homework. The second one is social affective values. Students need to feel that they have achieved something of value and that they have enjoyed the lesson. The teacher should make students feel that what they have learned has been special, which can be done through motivating words. Uses of closure. Professor B.K. Pasi has defined lesson closure as achieving closure is a process of associating new facts with the old knowledge, applying new knowledge in various situations, and ensuring repetition of the facts in the best possible way. This skill means to finish some task. When a teacher delivers lecture and sums up properly and in an attractive way, the skill is termed as closure skill. In the absence of proper closure, the lesson is ineffective. It attempts to draw students' attention to a closing point in the lesson. It reviews major points of teacher-centered presentation. It reviews sequence used in learning material during the presentation. It provides summary of important student-oriented discussion. It also relates lesson to original principle or concept. It attempts to lead students to extend or develop new knowledge from previously learned concepts. It also allows students to practice what they have learned. It tries to cue students to the fact that they have derived an important point in the lesson. It also helps to organize students' learning and to help form a coherent picture, to consolidate, to eliminate confusion and frustration, etc. Elements of closure. The four elements of closure are cognitive, perceptual, motivational, and social. First, we will discuss about the cognitive closure, which refers to a synthesis of the main points of checking that they have been understood. Teacher and student both summarized during cognitive closure. The second one is perceptual closure. It is clear to all concerned that closure is about to occur. Applied to teaching, perceptual closure would take place when students are explicitly made aware that a specific aspect of content is ending and a new one is about to begin. For example, I am now going to move on to the next part of the presentation, which will deal with A and B. At this point, students' attention to the next learning should be greater. Social closure. Social closure involves socially reinforcing what have been achieved or covered during an interaction. Reinforcement may either be task related or non-task related. For example, you all worked hard today to complete the task. Thanks for doing so. Contact me later if you have any further queries or questions. I look forward to see you next week. Have a safe journey, non-task related. And the last one is motivational closure that seeks to stimulate ongoing engagement. In teaching, the use of motivating statements, drawing attention to new, additional, useful sources, or to follow up exercises aimed at reinforcing learning. For example, bringing the session to an end using a memorable statement, finding, or quotation also achieves effective motivational closure. Simply by emphasizing the value of content, a teacher also achieves motivational set. Today's content will help you to see how so and so, or now that you are able to apply X to Y, please prepare for your next class by so and so. Types of closure skills. In the classroom teaching, generally closure is achieved through instructional versus cognitive closure. Allen and Ryan distinguished between instructional closure and cognitive closure. Instructional closure is reached when the lesson is completed and the teacher has shown the link between past knowledge and new knowledge. Cognitive closure is used to centralize the attention of the students and to consolidate the students' learning. Cognitive closure is reached when the students have reached closure and have made the link between old and new knowledge. It should be used after the discussion with the students and at the end of the learning process. Social closure. Brown identified social closure to mean the act of giving students a feeling of achievement after a lesson and encouraging them to continue to strive and make improvements. It is used at the end of some difficult learning process by praise and encouraging the student. The aim of this closure is to make the student aware of their IQ level and to remove their difficulties of learning. Closure is not limited to the completion of a lesson. It is also needed at specific points within the lesson so that the students may know where they are and where they are going. If the planned lesson is not completed, closure can still be attained by drawing attention to what has been accomplished up to the point where the lesson must end. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to my video to motivate me, share it with others and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get a notification. Closure can be facilitated in at least four ways: drawing attention to the completion of the lesson or part of the lesson by providing consolidation of concepts and elements which were covered before moving to subsequent learning, relating the lesson back to the original organizing principle, reviewing major points using outline, summarizing the discussion including the major points which were covered by the teacher and the class, developing all the elements of the lesson into a new unity, and reviewing the major points of the lesson. Secondly, making connections between previously known material, currently presented material, and future learning by reviewing the sequence which has been followed in moving from known to new material, applying what has been learned to similar examples and cases, extending material covered to new situations. Thirdly, allowing students the opportunity to demonstrate what they have learned by providing for students practice of new learning and providing for students summary of the learning. And fourthly, developing unsuspected closure by helping students to take what has been presented and to develop this material into a new and unsuspected synthesis. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe.